Texas Werewolf, Episode 2, The Librarian.
What a day. Right, here goes. Notes, Ridgevale, Texas, from 23rd of June, 2019, interviews and local archive visit. After several mundane interviews in the morning that proved pointless, as I expected, it was suggested that I try High Trees Farm further out of town, as odd things are reported to happen around that area. I wasn't expecting too much, but I traveled out to see what I could turn up. The only person around was Josiah Bates, who looked after the farmyard animals, chickens, goats, a couple of horses, the usual small farm stuff. He was engaging enough and willing to do a recorded interview, which I started, but there was a commotion coming from the animals. I turned to see what was causing the problem, and then I turned back and Josiah Bates was gone. Something spooked the animals badly. I mean, the two horses jumped the fence of the corral and came racing across the farmyard, almost flattened me. I jumped out of the way and fell and hit the ground. Not a bad fall, just in case you were wondering, Peter. More embarrassment than injury, but the strange thing is I was on the ground. I'm sure I heard a large dog in the yard, which maybe was the thing that spooked the horses, but I couldn't see anything. Josiah Bates didn't show up again, and the farmhouse seemed empty. At least no one answered when I called through the door. I returned to town and visited the local history archive at the library. Not very big, but the librarian was knowledgeable on local history and stories about the town, and she agreed to give an interview. And the interview is added to this file.
Are you sure you're all right, dear? You look like you fell over in the barnyard.
No, I'm fine. Just a small accident.
Well, maybe you'd like to brush the mud off. I have a clothes brush somewhere.
No, thank you. I'm fine, honestly. Can we get started?
Oh, yes, dear. It's exciting.
So, Phyllis, how long have you been the local librarian?
I've been in Ridgeville all my life. And the local librarian, well, since 1962. It's not a busy place, the library. Not here. It's quite light work, really. That is why I have time to run down to the local history archive, too.
Well, you must be well versed in the local stories and history, then.
I surely have seen and heard a lot in my days.
So what do you know about the farm out on the west side of town, Tall Trees Farm?
No, that's a strange place. Not so much the farm, but that area. It's not a place folks go unless they have family or business. Kind of spooky, folks say, off in the woods around that part.
Spooky? In what way?
Well, folks say there's a strange feeling about the place on account of the witchcraft that used to take place there.
Witchcraft? What kind of witchcraft?
Well, the stories go back to the mid-1600s. A bit before my time, dear. But it's said several families from England settled here to carry on the diabolical magical arts away from the persecutions of their own country. And that's why folks used to avoid the place. They say, it's bewitched.
So these families came from England and settled to farm in the area around Tall Trees Farm?
That's right. According to the stories, they worked the land and they worked their magic to keep folks at bay and disease away from their crops and their cattle. The myth goes that they never suffered from droughts or pests or bad seasons in the way rest of the folks around here did. But it's just a story. Folks like to use pixies and wrongdoing to explain away their own misfortune and others' success. More likely, those English farmers just arrived here early enough to choose the best land hereabouts and everywhere else, had to settle for second best at worst.
And what happened to these families?
Well, they're still here. Not much changes around Ridgeville. They carried on farming. Some of the names changed. I guess as the original families married, the links to the land, they're still here.
Which are the families that came here originally?
Yeah, there are several. Thornwise is one. They own a farm, a big piece of land beyond the wooded area you were in today. Then there are various members of the Beeson family. They have scattered around the area. They have several small farms, but are quite tight-knit as a clan. The Hobgifts, they own Fairy Mound Farm. The Elfenders, they're another. They have a lovely place bordering the fairy woods to the northwest of the town. Very nice people.
A lot of fairy references here.
Yeah, well, the places were probably named by the settlers around them that used witches and fairies to explain the success their farmers had. Oh, yeah, there was one more family, the Faygifts. They owned Tall Trees Farm.
I thought you wanted a spooky story.
Yes, but a credible one.
So a made-up wolfware story is credible, but a real story about something strange happening with Old English witch families in the woods is not?
No, not exactly. But where is it going?
I don't know, but if we don't look any further, how will we ever know?
Credibility for our show is all important. We are a news channel, after all.
Credibility from Mr. Niagara Falls? What got you all righteous all of a sudden? Oh, I get it. You touted your Niagara Barrel idea to the boss and he told you what he thought about it. And little wonder he rejected it. It was a terrible idea.
Well, it's not rejected, just not commissioned. Yet.
Well, we've got a real story here. I feel it in my journalistic bones.
Okay. How do we proceed? The families are probably sensitive about it, and rightly so. The last thing they want is us making a spectacle of them. They'll come up right away.
I thought about that already. Maybe if we work it as a story from the English folklore angle and tell them that we're looking to end the story in Texas as a way of wrapping it all up, a kind of a coda to the British side of things.
Okay.
You go and trace the village where these families came from in England, and I'll go back to Tall Trees Farm and see what I can find out.
In The Texas Werewolf, Elsa was played by Melissa Conti. Peter was played by Keith Hayes. Edith was played by Denise Keena Ross. Fanshawe was played by Lane Denny. Josiah Bates was played by Lane Denny. Phyllis was played by Martha Walters. Brandon was played by Stephen Catlin. Written by Mark Brett Warburton. Produced by Shed to World Communications.